In a world where digital content barrels towards us at relentless breakneck speeds, where posts and memes and tweets and snaps rain down a punishing assault of attention-grabbing data, three heroic podcasters with a strong background in broadcast media are taking on the internet. Each week, we break down the trends, technology, and connections that are transforming our lives. We are Things I Found Online.
We are Things I Found Online, where podcasters are exploring the internet and all of its spam, splendor, slime, sass, and serving up of transportation alternatives. Yes, it is Uber Driver Day. We are going behind the scenes, Uber time. I am Jack Daniel, tossing gracefully to my co-host, Louise Palanker. Wheezy.
Yes, Jack. The internet is transforming our lives and our language in so many ways. Uber is a noun and a verb and maybe even an adjective, which is such an Ubery thing for me to claim. Today, about 160,000 Uber drivers serve over 8 million users in order to earn extra cash or grow their own businesses. Lyft, with a Y, Lyft drivers total over 100,000 people. Among these fine citizens are our guests today: Kyle Hefner, Dan Cam Long, Scott Lubbers, and Jonathan Tipton Myers.
Bravo.
And, of course, my lovely co-host, Lori Roggenkamp.
Hello.
Who comes to us from the world of comedy, and Jack Daniel. And we're going to open the show with Facebook Feed Time, because if you were with us last week, then you know, I believe I status-shamed Jack and his girlfriend, Wendy.
Come on into the picture,
You missed it,
darling.
Lori. It was very, very good. They've been dating for 9 months, and we were curious as to why they were not Facebook official.
Oh.
And I shamed them. I have no idea. I mean, we could jump forward 20 years when all your children are gathered around me, and I could say to them, I don't know if they really wanted to get married, you guys.
The secret to all good marriage, though, is forcing people to do it. So
yeah.
this is going to work out just fine.
All right, so take the story from here, guys. He changed his status live on the
Right,
show.
I did.
Go ahead.
Well, and then things just went downhill. We've since divorced. We don't really talk anymore, so this is actually very uncomfortable. No, this is not true. It was amazing, because the outpouring of support from our Facebook friends actually was the most likes I think I've ever gotten. How about you?
Yeah, well, pretty close, yes.
I think I see what happened
humble
there.
brag.
Humble brag. This may be.
Sure, it was close.
It's
It was uncomfortable. Is really what I've never had that amount of attention.
And I was kind of
for love.
warning you that it is a little weird when. Has anyone here changed their status and felt that kind of like all those eyes glaring on you as if you're the stars of a rom-com that they're all watching?
Yeah, I changed my status very prematurely one time when I was dating a girl for like 3 days, and got so much stuff,
is a
and then
real
like
relationship.
2 weeks later had to change it back to single. And I was just like, oh, this is.
How did it last for 2 more weeks? That was my question.
Sure will.
It was the algorithms.
Yeah.
I have a little backstage Hollywood story. Two important upfront facts are this. Jack has been my co-host for about a month, and I almost never go to parties. They are loud and crowded. I spend weekends in Santa Barbara. I like to be alone. But my good friend and songwriter, those are her two important job titles, Diane Warren, was having a birthday party in Hollywood. I walk in. It's a cozy affair, somewhat star-studded, and there is a face I immediately recognize, that of Jack Daniel, my brand new co-host. And I believe Jack can pick up the story from here.
I believe I can. So basically, Wendy and I were invited by our friend Randy Thomas. She's the voice of the Oscars. She's done the Emmys. She does the Grammys. She's also the voice of Nightline, the first female to do so. And we were tagging along with her because she's friends with Diane. So it was really wonderful. Last minute thing. We just kind of threw on some clothes.
Jack, you need to go to this. Yeah, I don't.
I was like, I don't want to go. I'm like you, Louise. I'm like, I'm
Diane
working. I don't want to do this.
He said.
All right,
He
I'll
said,
go.
who's
Diane Warren. I
Yeah.
said Wikipedia.
Do you-
Don't say that, because she might watch this. But of course, I
Not watch.
immediately recognized her, and it was so wonderful to see you there, because I've never seen you in civilian life.
You do know that Diane Warren knows
cute
the
sweatshirt.
Bidens. She knows the Bidens.
I think she probably knows everybody.
She
doesn't
knows,
she?
yeah. She
Yeah.
knows.
And then we wore RuPaul's glasses.
Oh, yeah, we had a
it's
great
all going on. So
conversation.
can you click on the link of, I uploaded some party photos. I think Jack did too. I don't have the RuPaul glasses, but there's so there's Bob Lefsitz, and there's me and Diane, and there's my cousin Trish. And if you keep scrolling down, you're going to get to this awkward encounter where we spotted John Stamos, and we were on it. He's going to be staying home more often. Yeah. So Jack approaches him boldly, and Jack, what did you say to the Stamos?
Basically, Wendy said, I said, why don't you get a picture with John? And she said, oh, well, how? And I said, well, just ask him. She goes, you ask him. I'm like, all right. So I just went up into it, and I made some small talk, and I said, hey, this is probably something you hear all the time, and I don't want to be that guy, but I'm going to be that guy. Would you mind terribly if you just posed for a picture with my girlfriend? And he was very nice. He
yeah,
said,
because
sure,
he
why
thought
not?
you were going to say, what's Bob Saget really like? Because he gets
In
that.
bed.
He gets that in bed. So there's Stamos going, oh, Jesus. See, cut back to that photo, because Stamos is like, oh, Jesus. I had to walk over and talk to the redhead.
Is
Okay.
that a giant pizza right
It
there?
was a giant vegetarian. Diane
Yeah.
is uber vegan, if I can use the term uber in another context. She's uber vegan. Everything there you see is vegetable. It was just growing out of the ground out back, and they threw it on a pizza. So cut to the attachment, and you'll see what then next transpired. There you go. There's Stamos going, oh, it's a cute blonde. Okay.
Exactly. He was sizing her up. Then he said, sure, I'll do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice
So
of
that's
him.
how it went.
And that's our Backstage Hollywood story. Round of applause, please.
Thank you. And it was so good to see you. And we actually had a really nice conversation, Weezy. It was very fun.
We did. We talked about our child. Well, we screamed about our childhoods.
screamed about our childhoods,
It
yeah.
was a
Oh,
loud
music.
party.
Yeah.
It was a loud party, and at these parties, I just want to say to everybody that I'm having a fun conversation with. You should just come over to my house where we can have this not go completely whores.
What?
Yeah.
But that was a great party. Really. Oh yeah, star-studded. So RuPaul was there, and who else did you guys spot? Wasn't Leona Lewis there?
I think everybody was there.
Leah
We actually had a really
Vergara.
good talk with RuPaul, who is probably one of the kindest, most interesting people I've talked to in a long time. So that was
I
really
liked
fun.
his suit.
He had a fantastic suit on
Yeah.
and great
Well, it was,
glasses.
though.
So we both tried on his glasses, but they were really his. You looked good in them, though, Wendy.
Thank you. Jack.
So now we're here with Uber drivers. We have to segue from Hollywood. You guys have probably driven people from Hollywood parties, right? So you probably we should ask them some true Hollywood stories about like
Oh, gosh, yeah.
drunk and disorderly celebrity behavior in the back of an Uber car. Ooh, yay. So stay tuned. It's all coming. Jack, would you please read these Uber/Lyft facts from the Wall Street Journal?
Yes, according to the WSJ, Uber registered 4 billion rides globally in 2017. Apparently, they do not release specific ride information for the United States. They're averaging 15 million rides globally thus far in 2018. Lyft, on the other hand, completed 375 million rides in the U.S. during 2017. Uber and Lyft typically take a 25% commission on a fare. Do you guys agree with that? Is that correct?
A little more.
Ooh.
Get really close to your mic, guys. Really
Yeah.
close
A
to your
little
mic.
more than 25.
So, is that right? Okay, that's interesting. We'll have to talk about that. Drivers generally take the rest, not including fees and taxes. How much drivers can make an hour is generally disputed. Some studies put it at below minimum wage in several large U.S. markets. We'll talk about that. A Massachusetts Institute of Technology, or MIT study, calculated median pay for drivers at $8.55 an hour after expenses. A reassessment which happened after Uber pushed back on the MIT study's initial findings of $3.37 per hour. That can't possibly be right.
That's a little high.
Yeah, they're like, hey, it's 8.
So what do you think? Is this even close? Are we in the ballpark?
It's probably a little higher than 8.
Yeah. Okay.
I just don't pay attention to it. I don't want to know.
You
Because
don't
you know
want
it,
to
like
No, I
I'm
don't wanna
getting
know.
in my car, I'm driving people around, and I'm making money.
Yeah.
And that's enough information
Yeah,
for
I don't
me.
want to know what it is. I don't pay attention.
That's how I go into every job. Don't tell me how much I'm going to make. I just want to do the job and then be surprised with the outcome.
So a true fun Hollywood fact behind the scenes is that Jack and Wendy, I understand you guys Ubered over here just to get a feel for the Uber experience.
Yes.
Well, and it's an experience I've had many, 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 many times, but it
like
was
this,
fun
though.
because we just had a really good time. The driver was nice.
Yeah.
He was chatty, which is fun because
Yeah.
I like to be chatty with the drivers. I like to see what their
Yeah,
story
did you guys? We have a visual on that, guys. You brought some videotape.
Okay.
In the beginning, there was a romance period where everybody was in love and everybody was filled with gratitude because all of a sudden there was this thing, like everybody was stranded, and then all of a sudden there was people that come and pick you up in their own car, and so I've been able to see how that gratitude became acceptance, then became expectation, and then finally entitlement, and now we're kind of at that stage where we're, where it's like, do we want to go to therapy?
So
Do we want to make
Wendy,
this
what do we
work?
call expectations again?
premeditated resentments.
There we go.
Nice.
That guy looks just like me.
Wait a second. The Uber driver is Jonathan. Jonathan,
No
you
way.
picked these guys up?
I picked these guys.
You're that guy?
Yes, I'm that guy.
Wow.
It does sound like you.
How were?
Yeah, it's funny.
Could you talk right into the microphone, Jonathan?
Absolutely.
How can you please report on their conduct?
Wait, just so I know that it was you, can you say the words, get out right now?
Okay, that's it. We're done. Out of the car.
It's him.
I think it's like Superman. He was wearing his glasses in the car.
That's
and then
it.
he
That's
took them
it.
off.
That's
And
it.
now you're a whole new person.
So
You're not supposed to say
you
anything.
picked up this very Facebook
Lois.
official couple, and how was their behavior?
They were fine.
Now,
Wait.
from what I'm reading, like they can rate you and you can rate them.
Yes, absolutely.
So-
although their ratings are accurate and ours are basically just just for fun.
So do you
Oh.
if you're going to go pick up a person,
Yeah.
would you check their rating to make?
Absolutely.
And would you just then decline the ride if?
Absolutely. I mean, depending on where you are and what time of night it is and when you're driving, a couple of factors come into play. But
Like
yeah.
if you see like has a knife, you're just like, oh. Yeah.
But he still picked me up.
Has a knife where? Has a knife from Van Nuys? Has a knife from West Hollywood? What kind of knife?
What kind of knife?
Yeah, it's a
Doing
couple
some
of factors.
pairing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Anything else happen in the car that was eventful?
I mean, we stopped most of the bleeding, so I think we're fine.
Yeah, we got it all. Pretty
Yeah.
much.
Did you do a drive-through or anything?
No, we didn't do a drive.
No.
Okay. All right.
Oh, so is that an Uber driver pet peeve? Will people ask you to make stops?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
It's describe how that usually goes down.
Well, there's nothing more fun than picking up, two really drunk guys at 2:00 in the morning, and they want to go through Taco Bell.
Right.
Because you have to pull up, and it's like, I want 45 tacos and 8 churros. You don't have churros? Oh.
And they don't even, they're so drunk they can't pronounce the food.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
And then your whole car smells like chalupa.
Yes. There was a swollen chalupa on my back seat.
And then do they keep that food? Does that food stay inside of them?
Yeah, mostly.
Have you had eruptions in your car?
Oh, have I? Yeah. Well, when I first started, I went on Amazon and I bought 30 Pro vomit bags.
Really?
Yeah.
Ease's bags.
Pro, fully Pro.
Fully
They're
Pro.
like the kind you get at the hospital. And you're waiting in the ER. I have 2 left.
Holy mackerel.
Wow.
But
And
when I pick up someone that I know they're going to go, because I'll take them home. I think people need to get home safely.
That's
So
nice.
they're getting in the car, they're spinning, they're going to go. I have the air conditioning on high. They're going, and I go, look, dude, I'll take you home, but you have to hold this bag over your mouth, and you can't talk to me. But no, you can't talk. You have to hold the bag over your mouth. And I want to see it. I want to see it expand and contract with each breath you take. Create a perfect seal. You cannot talk. Hold it over, and that's the only way I will take them home. And then they use the bag, and they're like, "Well, what am I supposed to do with the bag?" I'm like, "That's yours now. Take it into your house and get rid
it's
of
a
it."
parting gift.
Yes, it is. It is.
Wow.
Yeah, I have 2 bags left. So.
Any similar stories, Scott? No?
Yeah, I mean, definitely has happened, and that's pretty much why I stopped driving that late at
Oh,
night.
okay. So you can handpick your hours knowing sort of like who's going to be around. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So as you approach your clients, you can tell from their demeanor if
If they're staggering and
staggering or
wavering,
not.
it's like,
You know, I'm standing right here. I can hear what you're saying.
Oh, thank you. There was one night picking up some people at the Sagebrush Cantina, and there was a queue of Uber and Lyft cars, but also a line of people, matching up with their drivers.
So you're trying to figure out which one is
Which one's
mine.
right, and
It's
I
like
see-
in square dancing in high school. You're
Exactly.
like, oh, jeez. Oh,
Exactly.
jeez. Here she comes.
I see these 2 guys drunk, sparring and wrestling on the sidewalk, getting dirty.
Those are yours.
Yeah.
Oh.
And as I'm getting closer, sure enough, they're mine, and I just declined it right then.
Oh,
Yeah, because-
wow.
But did they spot you? Did they see
They
your
did
Uber
spot me.
thing?
Yeah, they actually spot me, and they tried to open the doors to get in.
What?
And I actually
See?
declined
Like,
them.
dude, you're being drunkest.
Yeah, so in those situations, you don't want to take any chances.
They beg, too. They start begging.
They do? Oh,
yeah,
please.
they do.
I'll be good.
I was at a bachelorette party once where it was all women and one guy. So of course the guy gets really drunk, and the guy was like super drunk, and I was kind of like, it was late. I was kind of like, I wanted to go to bed, so I was like, I'll take him back. And we had one Uber driver cancel on us because he saw him kind of swaying. He was like, I'm not going. So then I was like, I'll just try and distract the guy by talking so much. And so this other Uber driver comes, he goes, is he going to throw up? And I go, no. He might need to pull over and just, like, get some air, but he's going to be fine. And then the whole time literally just started talking like I was being held at gunpoint. And I was just like, yeah, so how long have you been in Santa Barbara? And what do you do for a living? And do you do anything else? And, like, just as loud as I possibly could. And I told the guy who was drunk when we first got in, I was like, give me a signal. When he was in the back, I was in the front. He goes, and when you're doing it, and he literally, his signal was just to lightly tap my head, just to go like this, to let me know that he had to puke. And I was like, how in the hell was I supposed to know that? And so we thankfully were able to pull over. But then the guy was like, I told you he was going to puke. I think he puked on my car. And I was like, I don't think so. So, like,
yeah, you were on it.
Then I had a water bottle, and I, like, literally had the water, and I was talking to him, and I, like, threw it out the window to try and wash off the vomit. And I was like, so what else is new? What are you doing? Like, so luckily I didn't get charged. But yeah, that's the craziest Uber. I felt awful.
We need you in our intelligence services. I think you can actually do a lot.
And because she's just really, like, her reaction time is just.
I was resourceful.
Yeah.
And on the spot.
And resourceful. I want to go around the room because, I mean, it's interesting that everyone, like with the internet, because this show is pretty much about how the internet is changing who we are and what we do and how we behave. And so it's like you guys now have this as an option to either augment your income or create your own business. And I want to go around the room and find out, like, what else do you do besides Uber? Or you primarily, is this, how you're making your income? How about you, Jonathan?
Well, I'm a writer and performer, and I was running an internet marketing company that became a corporation, and had bought a house and had a bunch of stuff, but none of it was what I really wanted. So we got rid of it all and got back to what I was doing. So to augment writing, I started driving. I was researching a project that takes place downtown, and I really just thought I'd drive around there and learn how to drive in the right direction. And
it's tricky down there.
Yeah, it's the only city the only part of a town in a city where people will just scream at cars like, wrong way!
Yeah, they will. They're not subtle.
Right.
Well, that's also because you're going the wrong way.
Well, that's what I mean. And so what happened was I ended up taking a tour of the whole city, and it opened my eyes to a whole bunch of things, primarily why I never felt at home here. So started a larger project. So I became a driver full-time to kind of cultivate and build that project. And as a result, became an entrepreneur.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is fascinating. Dan?
Can I actually interrupt? When he was picking us up, and I was feigning like I didn't know who you were earlier, just so we're clear. But he was wonderfully philosophical. It was probably one of the most entertaining Uber rides I've ever had, because you actually have a lot of deep stuff going on, and I can tell that you're working on a show because it just sounded really interesting to me.
Yeah,
a little plug for him.
Yeah, we want to hear more about that.
Yeah.
Dan? What's your Uber story?
My Uber story, my history is I started driving part-time, once again to augment some money coming in. I'm an IT professional for the last 35 years, been doing IT consulting. And in between projects and clients, I needed to kind of fill that time. And I started driving. Quickly found out I enjoyed driving more than I did the consulting.
Yeah.
So I decided to try going driving for Uber and Lyft at the same time and trying to go through. It was a kind of a rough start. Wasn't sure how all these other drivers were saying they're making so much more money. Then I realized in order to make a somewhat decent living, you have to do it full time.
Okay.
Hitting the bonuses, making sure you look at your goals, your incentives.
So you kind of game it.
You do have to game it, yeah. And also you have to kind of look at and study your I guess your customer base.
You have to be a business person.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, where are you going to go? You're going to go to shopping malls, schools, universities, things of that nature.
Are you doing your own taxes?
I am. And that's a pain in the neck.
That is a pain. Yeah,
it is a
okay.
big
Kyle?
pain in the neck.
My name's Kyle Hefner. I'm an actor, and a few years ago, acting just got weird. I was just trying to figure out how to work as like an old guy. So
You're a very young old guy.
Well, thank you. But things had just kind of slowed down. Commercials stopped, and I thought, what can I do? I don't know. I can pretend to do a lot of things, but I don't really know how to do anything. And then Uber had just started, and I thought, well, I could do that. I could drive, and then I could do this whole thing and talk to people, and strangers will get in my car and tell me stories, and I'll make $1 or $2 here and there. And that's really how it started, and that was 7,500 rides ago.
Wow.
Or so.
So you guys count your rides?
Yeah.
It's on the app.
Oh, it's on the app.
Us, yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Scott.
For myself, I found myself laid off, actually. And being an IT professional, older age, I found it a little bit more difficult getting into another IT position. And out of necessity, being resourceful, had a car and got myself into. I had a friend that was doing it, and it paid the ends meet. Paid my bills and everything like that. And like Dan, I was enjoying it. I loved talking with people and connecting with people. I mean, I've lived here almost over 30 years, and I learned so much about the city. Because when you're in a regular 9-to-5 job, you just go from your home to your house to your shopping center, and that's pretty much it, the bubble,
Right.
versus being taken all over
Everywhere,
the city.
all the little nooks and yeah.
And now everybody, all my friends come in, where do we go? They because you learn so much about the city.
We know
And
where everything is.
You know everything.
Yeah, totally.
So
totally.
do you think more people talk to you in an Uber than would talk to you if you were a cab driver?
100%.
100%?
It's
Yes.
a fundamentally different experience because it's your car.
Right. Yes,
wow.
That's all it is. So just
And it's not yellow.
No, not at all.
And
Well,
you don't have
I mean,
it
unless you got a deal over in Van Nuys.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you don't have that barrier.
The barrier,
You don't have
the
the- but
window.
It's like they're your guest rather than
Yeah.
you work for them.
It was the biggest surprise, the first thing that happened. So just imagine any question you ask, what would you do in your friend's car?
Right.
It's exactly the same.
So is it now weird if you get someone who doesn't talk?
No,
No.
It's
people are
odd.
very
It's
shallow.
rare, but when we learn that if someone doesn't want to talk, we let them not talk, and we turn up the radio,
Right.
and we let them relax. And because some people don't want to talk, they had a fight, they're doing whatever's going on, we allow them to live and do whatever they're doing.
There's seems like an international symbol for not wanting to talk by just putting earbuds in.
Wow.
Right? And they just don't want to talk.
Okay.
Do you ever point at their earbuds and say, "Hey, what? Did you just have a fight or something with your spouse? Huh?"
Well,
try
we
to get them
forget
out.
about the fact that there's a lot of times I don't want to talk.
Right.
And that happens just as much, if not more. Because the truth is that everything that the questions that people talk about drivers really are things that passengers are experiencing. So passengers are looking at it. Even if they say, they come in and say, you know what, I just don't want to talk. And I'll be like, that's great, let's go. And then 2 minutes later, it's like, I was thinking about this thing the other day.
I was just gonna say that.
Oh yeah,
I've
I
done
had that girl. Yeah.
I've done that so many times to the point where now I feel terrible because I'm just gonna talk because I'll get in the car and I'll be like, you know what? Because I let them know up front because I don't want them to talk and then me, I don't like it when people kind of give short answers and then you have to guess whether or not they're into it. So I'll be like a couple of times, I'm sorry, I've had a rough day. I'm just gonna sit in silence, and they're like, fine. And then they turn up the radio, and then literally 3 seconds later, I'll be like, I wonder what this guy thinks about this. And then he'll turn it down, and I'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna talk anymore. And then
Lori's already changed her status to in a relationship with that person.
And then one guy, yeah. One guy literally, I go, I'm just not feeling like talking. He goes, I feel like you're going to talk. I was like,
Nice.
you've seen it. I was like, yeah.
It's just because we've all been starved from connection for so long.
Yeah.
That we're just relearning how to connect with people.
Yeah, and this kind of shoves people together, and you're like,
literally
oh,
does.
I'm actually with this person.
Right.
And I could talk.
Dan said, I'm sorry, Wheezy.
No, it's like at first you're just like, I'm with this person. I better not talk. And then you're like, oh, I'm with a person. I could talk.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Dan, you said something really interesting to me. You said, talking about the experience of Uber helping to reduce the de-atomization of society again, like reintroducing people to connections. Can you say something about that?
Oh.
You said it better than that.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it's just we've been separated for so long in the city, and that we've basically kind of... There are three big things that I noticed driving around, and one is that it's really, really big. It's 500 square miles.
It's a big city.
Yeah, and what I didn't realize was that we're all lost.
Los
That
Angeles.
Everybody that lives here is fundamentally lost. Even if you've grown up we're all like one left hand turned away from being completely lost. I've never experienced that in a city before. And on top of it, I found out that there are about 3,000, square feet of personal space per person.
Really?
So it's really big. We're all lost, and nobody's around. So after a while, all of our skills atrophy, and we don't know how to talk. And then all of a sudden, we're thrown together.
So what do you guys experience when you have? Or do you do like an Uber carpool? What's it called when it's a Uber carpool?
Pool. It's
Oh
called
yeah.
a pool.
Sorry, guys. My Uber lingo is not on point. So when there's people in the car that you're picking up, and they have never met each other, because David was saying that that's how he met Dan, for example, I think, and then you have people back there, and all of a sudden it's just this meet and greet, right?
Oh yeah, it's true. And
Is it interesting or?
It is interesting, and there's something somewhat odd about it too. Not sure how the algorithm works with both Uber and Lyft, but the people that you pick up have a strange, maybe cosmic connection, one way, shape,
Like
or
they were
form.
meant to meet?
They were meant to meet.
I think that's
Yeah,
God
exactly.
talking.
Something. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely have if we could share a story about a couple, been divorced for 10 years, and an Uber pool. I picked up the ex-husband first, driving around. All of a sudden, he starts to panic and hides behind my headrest. I'm like, what's going on? And he said, who are you picking up? I gave him a name. And he says, I think that's my ex-wife. I'm like, are you kidding me? So as we pull up, she gets in the car. She thought she was being punked. She said, this is a joke, right? And I even told her, I said, if you're not comfortable in getting in the car, you're not going to cancel it.
Then I'm going to turn my camera on.
Right. And no, she said, the other driver already canceled. You're already here. That's fine. And just an awkward silence for the first 2 minutes was bad. And then he broke the ice, says, hey, what's going on? How are you? How you been? She replied with very short answers. Fine. Okay. And then when he asked, so are you seeing anybody?
Whoa.
Yeah, that was pretty heavy. And then she says, I'm remarried and I have kids. So now he's stunned.
So it was a long time
it's
ago.
a long time, right?
Wow.
And he goes back and says, I'm married too, and I have kids. And then now the dynamics change. Now she wants to inquire about, what do you mean you're married? What do you mean you have kids? And they break out their phones, showing each other their kids' pictures.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Here's the crazy part. Because it's Uber Pool, you usually pick up people going in the same direction or close to the same destination.
Mm-hmm.
They live literally a quarter of a mile apart. Their two kids live in
Holy
two different
cow.
school districts.
Yeah.
And the kids go to the same school, so they never see each other. However, they shop at the same grocery stores.
Wow.
They go to the same restaurants, but in the 10 years that they live there, they never bumped into each other, except in my Uber.
They don't have any mutual Facebook friends? Like, they need an Uber pool to tell them that this person has married? Oh, my goodness.
Great
That's a movie.
Love that.
Yeah, great story.
That's insane.
I think we got Tom Hanks, right? In
Right.
One role.
Yeah.
Who do you like for the other
Well,
person?
did you know that
Sandra
Kyle
Bullock.
There
Kyle
you
was
go.
in When Harry Met Sally?
Ooh.
Yeah. So he could write the movie.
What?
Yeah, I could.
Or Jonathan's a writer. He could write
He played the old woman who said, "I'll have what she's having."
You were awesome.
I
You were
spotted again. Yeah, that was Rob's mom.
That was Rob's mom.
I believed it. It was good.
I have an important Uber question. Everyone wants to know, where do you guys go to the bathroom?
Grocery stores, Starbucks.
Do you have to buy
hotels.
something?
No, no, you just weasel your way in. Like you've been there.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, I usually want to buy something and just go in. So either Denny's, IHOP, McDonald's. Yeah, just you don't have to, but for me, it's just it says paying customer. I'll be a paying customer. Not a problem.
But Dan, you go there all the time.
I do. It shows.
Sorry.
Starbucks.
Do you
for me.
guys check your? How often do you guys check your ratings?
Never.
You never look.
No, I do so many rides it doesn't matter. And I
Well, it always kind of pops up there. It's there when you look. I'm always
Customers.
looking
my
around.
rating?
Huh?
My
Well,
rating.
that's true. It's only if you
I don't
Your
check.
rating pops up for
if you
him.
will look at the
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
walk us through the process of getting approved to become an Uber driver. How do you log in and how do you sign up and say I would like to begin this process?
Is there like 6 weeks in Quantico first, or
It's a background check.
A 1,000-page questionnaire.
Yeah, there's Uber and Lyft have two different ways of qualifying their drivers. Lyft has more like a mentor type, where you actually meet a 4.9 or 5-star driver, usually in the parking lot, and that driver usually gives you an assessment. He kind of checks you out, makes sure everything else.
So you get like a big buddy, like a big brother.
It's kind of like that. They abolished that though very quickly after, because they were trying to compete with Uber. So it's very rare that those things happen. And they pretty much have gone into this kind of generic, like, background check is the biggest part of it. That was one of the wonderful things about Lyft.
Yeah.
Because you actually got in a car. I was a mentor for a while.
Oh,
and
really?
Awesome.
You were checking and making sure someone was a good driver. I mean, you weren't, you can only do so much of a check on a car. But
did you get paid to be a mentor?
you actually did.
Okay.
You actually got paid about $30 per person. So you were looking actually not only for a ride, but for a mentor pickup. And you had to be approved for that. And it was wonderful. It was really, really personal, and that was back when they were a little bit more personally focused. And just in the rush to compete, they just kind of got rid of that to try to indoctrinate more drivers.
I see.
Yeah.
The trick was trying to get the DNA sample.
That's so tricky. It really is, because it's like a scrape. You
I'm just
gotta
going to
do
swab,
scrape.
just a little swab.
Yeah.
Could you just like spit in this little bottle? Yeah. It's easier if they throw up, because then you just have it.
It's so much easier.
Isn't that how the Golden State Killer was found? Was he applied to be a Lyft driver? And then,
I think that's exactly
Okay, here we go.
So then what happens? You have to take your car to get checked out, right? It has to be like a newish sort of car, right?
Somewhat for Lyft.
2004, 2005?
Yeah, for
Better?
Lyft, if you want to qualify for their like power bonus ratings, the car can't be more than like 5 years old, and less than so many miles. Otherwise, you just kind of go for the per mile per time rate. Uber, I think they have a 15-year.
Sounds about right.
It's 15-year, but they do check every year of the condition of the vehicle, not just the appearance, but mechanically as well.
Actually, yeah, it's like twice a year. They will come up for, you'll come into a hub and they will recheck your car and make sure that it's driving well and things like that.
Yeah. Appearance-wise and making sure your tire treads are not bald.
Yeah.
So are you guys cautious with how you use your car when you're not driving for Uber and Lyft? Are you cautious about when you let your friends or family use the car, just keeping it nice? Detailing it, like how?
Yes, my car is cleaner now than I ever used to keep.
That's exactly right.
Before,
Yeah.
I have leather seats. I, put stuff on the seats, and it's the upholstery's clean, and it never looked like that prior to me doing this at all.
So you're nicer to strangers than you are to yourself.
Yeah, probably.
And we're better drivers.
Yeah,
I'm a much better driver than I was before.
I agree.
Yeah, I just have a meta sense of driving and what you see so clearly the everyday mistakes that people make that cause all of the accidents. And there's really only one or two or three of them.
And you, I'm sorry, Dan, but we're sharing a mic. That's the interruption. But and plus I'm a hog.
And plus it's Jonathan.
And plus, I'm so sorry.
That's
an idiot.
Dan.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should know. He's my driver too.
You called
I'm sorry,
Lane
I'm going to
Allen for
interrupt
about a
right
month.
now. I have something I'd like. No.
We'll take care of this in post. You'll be Jonathan then. But you had said this has made you a better driver in the sense that you're much more patient and you don't do like the crazy stuff that I know that I sometimes do. Is that the case?
Yeah, and it's not even that they're crazy. There's a couple of simple things that everybody does, like pushing a yellow or like sneaking around a corner as the light is turning red. That's probably 90% of all of the accidents that happen in the city are basically those two things.
Or just or distracted, being distracted.
Yeah, but mostly it's distracted enough to push that yellow.
You're
or
just
to make
listing
that turn.
how I got here.
I was just going to say, or it's being in a car that you're driving, like coming from your Berlin.
I have such a, if I ever do become, which I don't know if I will, but I have such a hard time talking and driving. Like, I don't know if that's ever been an issue, but like I literally, it's like chew gum and walking. Like I literally will be talking and then people be like, you just missed the turn. Like you're getting in the wrong lane.
Totally.
Like I'm just like totally focused on the conversation.
On my first ride, the GPS was like rerouting me like 2 or 3 times, but everybody was so excited because it was their first ride that it didn't matter. They were just drinking water and charging their phones. But now it's pretty much second nature. But in the beginning, everything that we did normally driving, all of a sudden it was like, oh my God, I'm driving. Like, how do I do that? How do I find this address? And
it's like, now it matters. This is my job. I have to do this right.
Well, it just felt so new because you're thinking, what does this job entail? It's something simple that I do all the time already. It isn't like a skill. It's like, oh my God, I'm looking for an address. How do I find this place? It's like I've never been in West Hollywood before in my life.
Yeah, all of a sudden, it's like this goes on your permanent record.
Yeah.
So we need the crazy stories.
Yeah. And preferably celebrity studded.
Any celebrity studded crazy stories.
I did give a ride to see Thomas Howell.
Okay. How was that?
It was
The driver.
no, the Hitcher.
The Hitcher. You're right. The Hitcher.
The
Thank
Hitcher.
you.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
how
yeah.
was he? How was
No,
he?
he was fantastic. I mean, I drove him from Encino to LAX, and he was just a fantastic guy. And we just had the most fantastic philosophical conversations.
Did you say
about life.
stay gold pony boy?
Oh.
I hope the answer is yes.
I forgot that part.
Oh, damn it. Pick him up again. But he was good. He was good.
That's my celebrity story. Yeah. for sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
I want drunken celebrity stories. Come on.
It's hard to share those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
we
just-
have to be very careful about what we say.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. No, I did.
You can just give us initials
No,
or
I
spell
did-
their name backwards.
No, she wasn't drunk. But
Okay.
I did pick up Saoirse Ronan.
Oh.
And this was pre-Brooklyn.
Right.
So, but I knew who she was
Right.
because she had starred in that film Hannah, which I had seen.
Yeah.
I had taken my son. So I pick her up, and I didn't recognize her at first. And she gets in because she rarely used her Dubliner accent. She's got a very thick accent in the
Aw,
Dubliner.
yeah.
So she gets in, and I said, what are you doing? She goes, well, I'm here working. I said, what are you doing? I'm working on a movie. I said, what? Oh, you're an actor. She goes, oh, yeah. I said, what else have you done? Oh, I did a film called Hannah. I was like, oh, my God, you're Hannah? And she's like, yeah. And I got very excited because I'm a fan. And I didn't know how to pronounce her name correctly.
Right.
So I said, how do I pronounce your name correctly? She goes, you'll always remember. It rhymes with inertia. It's Saoirse. And so I was taking her to the Edendale in, what's that, Silver Lake?
Silver Lake.
Silver Lake.
Yeah.
So an old friend of mine is one of the owners of the Edendale. And so she said, I said, one of my old friends is one of the owners of the Edendale. She goes, well, what's his name? And because I was so excited about everything, I totally blanked. I couldn't really, I said, Saoirse, I'm sorry, I don't remember. And she just kind of looked at me and said, really good friend of yours, isn't he? So you guys are texting each other every day?
I love her.
Yeah, she was lovely. She's lovely.
That's really
I
cool.
don't mean to be rude, but I would like to know the opposite of that story because that sounds like a pleasant, like, oh, we had a nice conversation. I would like to know that like a fire was started. If any of you guys have that.
I was almost thrown out of a cab.
What?
Out of an Uber.
You were thrown out of an
Why?
Uber,
No,
Wendy?
I wasn't. I was on my way to LAX,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a woman, and she would not drive fast, and I was, trying to push her.
Oh, she was your Uber driver?
She was my Uber driver.
And you were the abusive passenger?
And I wasn't. I just said, can you please move over to the right? You can move over to the...
Oh, the
No,
backseat driver.
I cannot. It's
Yeah.
not safe. And I said, okay, everybody's going. Like everyone was going. And I was about to flip my lid, and I missed my plane. I had her take me back.
Oh,
But she
really?
said, you can go out. You can leave.
I have a similar Uber story, Wendy, and it just came to me. I'm in Boston, the Boston area, and it's very rainy, and the Uber driver didn't know how to turn on the button that makes the
defroster.
Yeah, the window not fog up, so she had the air conditioning on full blast, but it was raining and cold, and I was freezing. And I'm that backstreet driver, backseat. I'm a backseat driver, and I'm saying, if you, and then because she was like sliding in between lanes and it's raining, I'm like, I'm not going to give her more than she can currently handle. I'm going to just make it through this ride. And when we got to our destination in Concord, I leaned forward and I said, this is the button that you press. I felt like she had stepped into the car for a family member, to get the ride, but that she really had not passed any test in terms of the operation of a vehicle.
How do you actually use the defroster?
You push it.
Don't you just push?
No.
You must live in LA.
I don't. I know so many things. I still have trouble with that, depending on the temperature of outside.
Right.
I feel you. I know.
If it's raining,
oh my God, I feel so much better.
but if it's raining at all, the condensation makes the window fog up. So you just press the one where it looks like a fan, but then with the little floaty things coming down.
But depending on the temperature outside,
Right.
that could actually fog up your window.
All right, who knows?
depends
Who
on the
knows a
temperature.
lot
And if you
about
have a lot of people in the car, and
Right.
Yeah, more
it
condensation.
actually will cause more.
You have to put the air on because
Yes,
the condensation will.
So a lot of times you do have to make it really cold.
Yeah, but you
Oh my
just do
God,
You
the.
saying
was
she was
right.
right?
Oh, sorry, but
Oh
you
my
just do
God, I
the
was
you
right.
just do the fan thing, and
Yeah.
then once it's completely gone, unless
not
there's
coming back.
unless there's a lot of people in the car and you don't have the air on,
Okay.
it won't come back. So what
So
you
it's just
do
the fan.
is what I usually do is put the fan on and then select that I'm gonna have air circulated through not through the car,
Yeah,
but like
the
into
roundabout
car.
way,
So you're not
rather than-
you're not even having the air on. You're just letting it go into the car. And
Jonathan,
then
you
that way
have
you don't have
you
to
have been
do-
checked out on the brake, right? You know how to
Is that which one is that? Is that like
Yeah.
The one on the
down?
right.
Okay, and there's that round thing in the center.
All right, so it's time for our number one list of the week because, as you know, the internet loves lists.
Yay!
But we don't have time to read all of them. So this is the number one list of the week. And it comes from Rideshare Central. Do you guys have that? Boom. Look at that. It's a list.
Holy.
So Jack and I will go back and forth on this one. The number one list of the week from Rideshare Central, the 10 most exciting rideshare startups of 2018. So here comes your other services that you guys are going to have to sign up for because I want you involved in everything. You're clearly the best ones out there. You need to be involved. May involve a move to China. All right, so number 10 is OFO, and this is from China. It's connecting bicycle owners with people who need a bike.
Oh. Number 9, Turo. Sort of an Airbnb for cars. You've heard of this.
Yeah, that's really good.
You've heard of that one? Okay. Number 8, Blablacar. It sounds like, if you just want to get in a car and talk to people, but not actually go anywhere. But no, it's French, and it's helping commuters carpool.
So it's Le Blablacar.
Le Blablacar.
Number 7 is Bird
So
for
that's-
scooters.
Scooters.
You guys know this?
Yes.
Scooters. I don't know if you guys are watching this across the country. This is about to happen in your community. Scooters have taken over Santa Monica.
really have.
It's crazy.
I would just like it if it was an Uber, but with scooters. So there's always one person with the scooter, and then the other person's in the back, like holding on.
That's Scoober.
So where are you from?
So for those of you that don't have Bird in your community yet, all of a sudden you're gonna be driving around going, "Wow, there's a lot of people with scooters. Look, honey, so many people have scooters." Then you're gonna see scooters just randomly parked on lawns. Like, wow, a lot of people are parking their scooters. And then all of a sudden it's gonna occur to you to walk over and see, oh, it's the Bird scooters. And what happens is this: you have an app and it gives you a barcode, and then it shows you where the scooter is, like with a little map. You scan the barcode, you get on the scooter, you ride to where you're going, you leave your scooter.
Right.
You don't have to lock it, you just leave it, and you go inside to wherever you're going, and when you come back out, your scooter may be gone.
And because it's called Bird, then some heroin-soaked musical genius comes by and picks up your scooter and kind of goes off with it.
That's pretty...
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's a really cool Charlie Parker reference.
Hey, man. I dig the Charlie Parker. Don't get me wrong.
Nicely done.
So it's like scooter sharing. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, so like how Uber and Lyft impacted the taxi industry, companies like Bird and Lime,
Impacting the
yeah,
walking
they are now
industry.
impacting the Uber and Lyft drivers
God
as
forbid
well.
we walk.
So you guys are noticing like a little bit of a dent in your...
Yeah,
A little bit,
totally.
especially for the extreme
The short
rides.
ones.
Well,
yeah.
I hadn't really heard of it, and I picked up this guy in this unincorporated area just south of LAX, and he was out there in the middle of nowhere with a backpack, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing out here? And he goes, oh, man, my bird died. And I went, oh, did you have like a cockatiel or a parrot? He goes, no, a scooter, man. I was like, oh, that's what those are. I had no idea.
Was it Dennis Hopper? Because it kind of sounded
think it
like
was.
that.
It's Charlie Parker.
Charlie Parker.
No, it was Bill Paxton, Alien.
Well done.
Game over.
Game over, man.
Game over.
It sounds like the guy got on his bird and rode it south as far as it would go until it died. And then he's just like,
Exactly.
all right, I'm going to catch an Uber.
Yeah.
Well, it's like there was this. I remember distinctly there was this thing that right around the time Uber came out, there was this new thing for people. It was specifically to pick up drunk drivers. And it was where you essentially had like a make your own scooter where people would take these scooters, like put them together, drive to your location if you were drunk, get in your car, drive you home, then pull out the scooter again, figure out how to remake it. It's like these business plans are just so like convoluted.
Yeah.
I think Uber
I remember
and Lyft
that, yeah.
are gonna lift because it's so simple. It's like with the bird thing, it just seems so convoluted and confusing as to how they're going to get their scooters back or how many are going to be in one area. So yeah, I don't.
Well, they
see it
actually,
being a
I mean,
long-standing thing.
they actually set it up so you could leave them anywhere.
You leave them anywhere.
And the whole deal is they actually have chargers.
And they pick them
So
up at
there's
the
a
end
whole
of the day.
class of people that can make money by charging them.
Yeah, like my friend
Charging
Benji,
repair.
he picks
Yeah.
them up at the end of the day, and then he charges them.
Yeah.
And then they're all, like, I guess in front of Benji's house. And then, because your app will show you where's the nearest scooter, and then you go and get it, and then you ride it.
Well, this is my first old person rant. So all
right, yay.
Just like,
Congratulations.
Get off my lawn.
Well done.
This technology is ruining us.
All right, my rant is let me get back to my list before I lose my place.
All right, you're number 5. Number 6.
Number 6 is Grab. This is from Southeast Asia, and it's just like Uber, but it's in Southeast Asia. So it's
Okay.
different because they speak, Southeast Asian, I think.
Number 5 is Lime Bike, which is more scooters and bikes.
I think Lime started with bikes, so it was like bike sharing. You could just leave your bike anywhere, and then you could find a bike. It's like find a penny, leave a penny. Like take a penny, like take a bike, leave a bike.
Okay.
But then Lime started branching out into scooters, and I see as many Limes as birds in Santa Monica.
But they're all over now. It's not
They're
in
all
Santa
over the
Monica.
place.
Is there a difference in what they offer, or is it more like Uber and Lyft?
I think it's like Uber. And
Okay.
Lyft,
Yeah, they're pretty similar. You get on them, and they go. Number 4. Is
That's
that
you,
me?
Easy.
Oh, that's me.
Yep.
Number 4 is Ola, ride sharing in India.
Okay. Number 3 is Get Around, renting cars from people who own cars.
So I don't know if they check up on the safety of the cars.
That's true,
or-
right? Yeah, how would you
That's
know?
like Turo.
That's true.
Oh, it
Okay.
is? How do they do that then? How you have to get approved by somebody?
Yeah, the car gets approved, and basically you're renting it's like you're running your own rent-a-car business.
Okay.
People do it individually, and a lot of people have a number of cars that they rent out.
Oh.
Number 2 is number 2 mine?
Yes.
Because I'm excited to pronounce this. Number 2 is Didi Chuching.
Shushi, maybe?
Didi Shuxing, a Beijing cab hailing service. I guess they hail a cab for you, and then maybe when you go outside, it's there waiting for you.
Oh, actually, that
And
kind
didn't
of makes
they
sense.
partner with Lyft?
Yes.
Did they?
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
And number 1?
Number 1 is Taxify, which is a great name. Estonian.
It's-
Now challenging Uber all across Europe. You guys know about this?
No.
Yeah, it started in Estonia, and it's taxifying. Is there any competition between drivers? Like when you how does it appear for you when you decide, okay, I'm going to go to work? What do you open? What does it look like? And how do you figure out that a ride is the right ride for you? Is it about location?
Well,
what does it look like to
you're
the Uber?
assigned your rider it's at random, through the algorithm, but you could also position yourself in a bad place where there's too many drivers. So I think I have a second phone that I have just the Uber customer app, so I can see exactly. It's like if there's too many concentration of cars,
Wow.
I will actually drive out of that area.
That's
and hope.
brilliant.
I like it.
Right?
Wow.
So yeah,
Oh.
because you can compete against each other, and then also too with supply and demand. One of the things I've stopped doing was chasing surge locations because by the time I get there,
Everyone's already there.
100 other drivers are already there
All
too.
right. But will you guys check in advance to see okay, what events are going on in town?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I do that too, and I stay way away.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
the
yeah. I
heavier
don't like
ones.
that. I don't
Right.
like driving those big events. They can't find you.
Right.
There's 20 people deep outside of Staples.
Right.
And then you're trying to find one person. The cops are there, and you want to make that U-turn right in front of Staples,
Yeah.
but the first guy's getting the ticket.
How about Hollywood Bowl? Good or bad?
Horrible.
Horrible, because it's a little canyon, right?
I got an Uber from Hollywood Bowl, and that was terrible because you can only go. It's so trafficked, and you can only go one way. So
Yeah, so
you
here's
have
the
to,
secret.
so
You have to come down
Yeah.
Come down the
to
hill.
one of the streets.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know the name of those streets. You come
Coing-
down to one of those
Coinga.
streets. Well, it's like Oden or things like that.
Yeah.
There are
If
little
you came
streets
down
there.
to Franklin or
Yeah.
You can order a ride there, and
That's the
it'll
secret.
be much easier. It'll be much
Yeah.
easier for a driver to find you. All of these events, people either like to do them and they have their own plan, or they hate them and they stay away.
I see.
Checking airport runs. People will check to see the incoming flights and outgoing flights because that determines when there will be a surge, and there's a cycle of that as well. I don't really know much
So
about
what's the
that at all.
current-
I get
what's the
officially,
current-
I'm just moving. Yeah.
What's the current airport? What are the current airport regulations in LA in terms of being able to hail an Uber? Or,
This is really important for
Okay.
folks to know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody's upstairs. Everything happens upstairs.
Okay.
Nothing can happen downstairs.
so you have to get your luggage and then go back upstairs.
You have to go upstairs because that's the domain of limousines and taxis. They paid for that.
Okay.
So after everybody started sneaking and got caught, they negotiated with the airport. Everybody goes upstairs, and there are ride share stations.
Okay.
And as soon as you order a ride from upstairs, it'll tell you what letter of the alphabet where to go. And it actually works really well. And you just go to that letter, A through F, and then your driver will make it there. If he's good, he will call you and make sure that you're upstairs, that you actually have read what's on that app and you know to go upstairs and are waiting for him so that you can have some kind of identifier to find each other.
So there's people downstairs still waiting in line for a taxi, and you're already home. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Probably.
Do you ever
because
do
if you did the upstairs Uber thing.
It gets crowded up there too.
It does, okay.
It's just that folks will think, especially if you're dropping off or whatever, can you just go downstairs because everybody's upstairs? And you can't. By law, we can't be down there. That doesn't mean that there aren't hundreds of drivers who've done that. It just means that when they stop them, they're going to take their car.
So what about if you hop on the little car that takes you, the little bus that takes you to the spot and order your Uber? You're
talking about like hotels?
Yeah, like a little or
Lot
spot
C.
or Lot C or
Lot C.
whatever. Like, are they checking for that or
Now they are. Now
Okay.
they are. Way back in the beginning, in the romance period, when you couldn't pick up at the airport, passengers created their own organic process where they
Okay.
would get into hotel vans
Shuttles,
and
yeah.
shuttles, and they would just go to those places.
Right.
Outside the zone.
Yeah,
Right.
and what happened was all the hotels got so pissed off because everybody was
now
filling up those buses. They weren't going into the hotel.
Because when I got on the little car that takes you to the spot parking,
yeah, or in and out, and
they
things like
want to
that.
see your little stub that you actually parked your car there.
And that's exactly why, because
Yeah.
you're not supposed to do that,
Right.
and drivers can't pick up there either. They'll get ticketed, and so they try to stay away. I mean, it's a good thing. It keeps flow of traffic going at the airport, but there was a time when everybody was sneaking into cars.
Yeah, and they used to ping you from outside the airport, and then they'd call you, and they'd say, hey, listen, actually, it's my buddy Hal,
yeah,
and he's coming in American Airlines. Could you pick him up? So they do that. That was their own hack.
Yeah, you used to wait, and they would get in the front seat, and the deal was, it was like, okay, you're my best friend. And you drive, because cops were waiting outside of the airport for any reason to pull you over. If you were driving 28 and you're coming out of the exit, it was like they pull you over because they know they saw your label, and they know someone's in that seat, and they know they were actually going to be able to potentially impound the car and give you a ticket for a misdemeanor. And it was so planned out that Lyft and Uber actually had their own remedy for it. And the cops actually hand you a list of items because they knew we're going to take the car. You call this number, Lyft will put $1,000 into your bank account, and then you'll be able to go and get the car out because they wanted that airport contract so much.
Wow.
Holy mackerel.
So what systems do you have to communicate with each other and to communicate with Lyft and Uber, your partners? Are there ways that are there like newsletters that you guys get or Facebook groups that you join to learn from each other?
There's a club meeting.
Are there ways to pick up tips and hacks and stuff?
I was going to say, when I first started, I looked up Facebook groups, and got information that way to help me, learn the system a bit. But after that, it's like, there's a lot of, I don't know what you want to call it.
Gossip.
You can call it trolling.
Trolling,
the groups actually are really important for someone who's brand new because there's so many new drivers all the time that it really is important to understand questions you have in real-time safety that you might want to ask about to help you just drive safer and do a better job. But a lot of times, because it can be very challenging, it gets filled up with a lot of trolls, so people decide to stay off. But you end up staying in a real small bubble where you're really isolated, and things are changing all the time on the road.
Yeah.
But it's great to know about an accident or a road closure or how to get around an event or things like that are really helpful in a bonding sense.
What apps do Uber drivers tend to use? Do you guys use Waze, or what do you like?
I use Waze 100%.
Yeah.
Waze, yeah.
Google Maps.
Yeah, Google Maps works just as well too.
The app that you guys actually are supposed to use, you don't use that to drive with?
The Uber Maps?
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Is it just, it's not the same at all? See, I ask Uber drivers the same question. I say, why don't you use Waze if they're using the Uber app? And they say it's exactly the same thing. So they're just lying to me, basically.
It's a little bit of all of it. The truth is that they make the GPS on Uber as basic and simple as possible because there's so many new drivers. So they want someone to drive safely. So a lot of times that might be slightly longer without a lot of like angles and turns because of that. So it's helpful. It's helpful for me. I have Waze out in addition to that. And I'll take a look if, depending on where you're driving, if you know, because you've driven thousands of rides, you know that if I pull up Waze, it's going to give me the same route, then it's not a big deal. Ordinarily, though, I would look on Waze to find out because I want to know real time, and that is not real time. By the way, it's like in terms of pickup and drop off, it's not real time either. It's a feel good.
Oh, okay.
They want to tell you that the driver's coming there, he's going to be there in 5 minutes, but the driver sees like 7 minutes away.
Wow.
And he will have cake.
Yeah,
sometimes,
but it makes you feel good.
Sometimes I'll look at the Uber car that's coming, and it just looks like it's spinning. Like, is this guy like rolling donuts or what?
We do that a lot actually, because it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's like it's hard, but now when the defroster.
What is he doing? Yeah. That's a really long red light. He's been there.
Oh God.
Maybe there's something pretty to look at. I don't know.
It's electronic, so
Yeah.
it's like reception. Sometimes it's bad reception. Sometimes 9 times out of 10 we're actually there when it says that we're 5 minutes away.
We've already arrived.
So yes, we're already there.
We're actually standing right behind you.
Yes.
I had that literally happen. I was in San Francisco and I was getting an Uber, and it was in this it was next to a parking garage in this dark area. And the Uber driver, I saw on the thing that it was down the street, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna walk down the street to meet the Uber driver because that'll be easier. And the guy calls me and he goes, I'm literally I'm down here, I'm right here, and I go, that's where I was. Like, what? How did you get there from here? And so then I had to walk all the way down.
I took a lime.
Yeah, but
now can I say the one thing that bothers me about an Uber experience I had? You could tell how low my rating must be now. Is that I was down at you know what Promax is, right, Wheezy? It's this. Okay, it's basically like a broadcaster sort of thing that happens downtown.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was there and I set my location as such, and somebody was supposed to pick me up because I was trying to get back up to the valley.
Yeah.
And this Uber driver was doing the wheelies, as you call it, about 5 blocks away at another hotel. And I was calling them and they weren't picking up the phone, which, I trying to communicate with them. So I actually called Uber. I found a way. I don't even know how I did it because it's so hard to contact Uber.
How do you find Uber?
I forget how I did it, but he said, he says he's right there. I said, I'm telling you, I'm at the convention. He's not here. So they charged me the $5 anyway because they said I canceled it. Yeah, and that really bothered me because all he did was, I did the right thing.
Oh, man, come here.
You did. Give him a hug.
Hug it out.
Hug it out. Hug it out.
I don't know. This is the thing that weirds me out. Sorry, I don't know.
Only the one.
No.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's just two men
Could
showing
you give us
emotion
just a
really
few
creeps
more
me out.
moments?
Yeah, they're working on a Facebook status.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave that alone.
Is that I still get weirded out when it's friends of mine, I'll have 2 or 3 friends and we'll get in an Uber and then we're all talking but just not acknowledging that the driver's even there. And it's I feel so weird because I'm I want to bring them in the conversation because I want them to know it's we don't think that I'm not trying to say that you're a ghost, but it's we started a conversation outside the car and now we're continuing it inside the car. And so I don't know if that's I guess maybe it might be a social thing for me, but is that weird for you guys?
So you guys are planning a bank robbery, and you're like, we should ask if he.
Yeah.
Are you in?
Yeah.
Do you want to be the driver?
Yeah. Yeah. Most likely, it's usually just some dumb thing that happened at a comedy show. So it's it's not even that interesting, but it's just I feel weird being completely ignoring that there's a driver. I one time had a Uber where we didn't even say anything to the driver. He literally picked us up, dropped us off, and we were still talking.
He's still crying.
His pillow is sopping wet.
That was you? Well, think of it this way. In a meta sense, any question that you have to think about if I got into a friend's car or if it was a friend of a friend. And you can talk or not talk, but a lot of times you just acknowledge that there's somebody there in a certain way. But I assume that if you're speaking loud and you're talking about something, you know that I'm there, and you can decide whether you want to engage with me or not, and vice versa. But it's totally natural to feel that way.
Yeah.
Because once again, we've been separated for most of the time we're here. We're
Yeah.
by ourselves, and we're not even walking anywhere.
What I do is it says right on your phone like what his name is, so
Yeah.
I will greet him. And then, because I think from that point on, if I'm having a conversation with, usually I don't Uber unless I'm traveling somewhere. So if you initiate by saying, I know you're a person, in fact I know your name, and then I think that he would
Know what you look like.
that he or she would understand if you finished what you were saying and then brought them into the next part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think it's acceptable, socially acceptable. Yeah.
I think you do whatever you feel, and if it feels really odd, then break that.
Yeah.
That's just like life. Like, that's the thing, is it's natural to feel that way. We're thrown in. Lyft was much more casual. Their business model in the beginning was your friend with a car, and everybody got in up front. And you actually fist bumped and did all this stuff because it was just a guy with a car.
Wow.
Uber was a limo company.
So they were like the Southwest.
That's exactly
if
exactly
I
right. It was like
myself-
Southwest. Uber's model was your own personal driver for
If I
$4.
find myself, I always get in the front, unless the person is specifically. I've had drivers say like, "Don't get in the front."
Well, it's flipped around now because it's become so ubiquitous.
Yeah.
In the beginning, it was like this. Oh my God, someone's coming to save me. Thank you so much for coming. And now it's just like, oh, we're like a bus. And so it feels uncomfortable to get up front, whereas before it wasn't. But it's just the dynamics of the way those companies
Now,
work.
since you brought up do what you would in your friend's car, and I don't know, I don't know if this is something we really want to get into, but how do you feel about people farting in your car? Because I
good
have,
Lord. The driver, or-
when I drive, I get very gaseous, and so like just in general, being in somebody's car, I'm like counting down the seconds to when I can get out of the car. And so it's just like, do you just, there have been times where I've like literally just been like, I'll just roll down a window. Because I don't know what maybe it's just long driving, but I have to hold it in. So as soon as I get in a car, it might be a Pavlovian thing. I just immediately go, I have to fart. So has that ever happened?
I'm gonna hand that off.
Okay.
Not touching it.
That's actually. I picked up a customer from the airport, long flight. He ended up falling asleep in my car, but also he farted while he was sleeping.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like, oh boy, I hope it's not a messy one, but just then had to crack all the windows open. And,
Wow.
Yeah, it got pretty bad.
I think you just say, excuse me, and you open the window again.
Yeah.
Like if it's a friend, you have to acknowledge it.
It's human.
And if you don't, because it goes back and forth. There are drivers, by the way, who, if you're not respectful or giving them a hard time, they'll hotbox you.
What?
Really?
Oh, what?
Yeah, they'll hotbox you. And I mean, based on behavior, whatever, not just you be obnoxious.
wait,
but if
they'll
you've been
do-
giving them a hard time or something like that, or you're treating somebody like, it's Miss Julie and they're serving in the kitchen, then they'll be just like,
That explains what happened at Beverly Ridge. Okay, now I'm starting to come
that
back
was
to me.
you.
Yes.
Do you guys have any noticeable patterns, like certain people need a ride every morning at a certain time and you have recurring customers?
I actually have a regular customer.
Do you? Is it Jack?
The person with a disability loves to play golf for therapy and lives not too far from where I live. And usually I pick him up and say, how's it going? Kind of take up the conversation when we left off the
nice.
last time.
Yeah.
So that is nice.
And how does that work? Because you don't get assigned somebody.
You don't.
So how does that?
I guess because we're neighbors.
Oh,
and when I
okay.
turn on the app, he's the closest, customer to me.
You're
so
turning on the app the same time that he goes.
He's gone.
Yeah.
He's
to the golf. So yeah.
It's a
Patterns.
handful of times, but I've picked up the same people
You're like, hey.
maybe 6-7 times.
Yeah.
But it's a handful and
Yeah.
incredibly random.
Do you prefer long rides or short rides?
It depends totally on the person. If it's a person that you wish it were 5 minutes, you don't want a long ride. So, I mean, to me, what do you guys think?
Well, for me, it's also reaching those bonuses. So in those cases, I want to get as many short rides as possible.
So how do the
Also-
bonuses work?
Oh, so it's not the distance; it's the rides.
No, it's a little bit of both. Yeah.
It used to be when the rates were higher. They've been dropped by about 100% since over 100% since they started. So and there weren't as many bonuses, but it really didn't matter because base fares were fine. So you would go anywhere; it didn't matter, and you were happy to have a long ride. Now that the prices were cut so much, they've augmented them with different types of bonuses from 1 minute to another, and they're always experimenting. So at one moment, all of a sudden, you'd actually rather have short rides. It's a really great question because a lot of people will apologize. I'm sorry, I'm only going a couple of blocks. But the truth is that will actually help you if you're looking. And there are people when you're driving, you're looking for shorties. You're looking for numbers of rides as opposed to long rides. And quite frankly, Santa Monica to Staples Center at 6 o'clock on a base fare is not a ride you want because it's an hour. It'll probably net you about $10.
Yeah, or 2 hours, 6-person pool. You're like,
absolutely. That I mean, it helps all around. Like all of a sudden, pools were very difficult because, and passengers should know, there's lots of info that's really good to know. Pool rides, lots of people get in, and it's great. It's not multiplied. It's the same fare as if one person had gotten in, slightly more. So it's the same trip.
Wow.
It's just maybe 5 more minutes.
Counted towards the driver.
It's just the driver will get a fare that will be maybe 50 cents to $1 to $2 more than and if you'd gotten one person, and it could take twice as long. So the only reason that you would actually be doing it is because you were looking for short rides to collect a bonus, unless you're in a surge ride where the fare is higher,
very high,
and then you're taking that ride. And folks, like someone lives out in Yorba Linda, they would get a lot of really nice rides. You don't get the volume again in Los Angeles, but you get folks who are coming into Los Angeles, and they need drivers out there. So for them, a long ride is absolutely great.
I had an Uber driver one time, a Lyft driver, sorry, who was
both. It's okay.
Who was super excited because it just so happened that I was drunk and I had to get an Uber home, a Lyft home, because I rarely drink, but when I do, I go crazy. So I had to get a Lyft home, and it was like $80, and I was like, apologized to him, and he was like, no, I am so excited because I live in Anaheim. And I always just drive home, but then I just happened to be in the area and I got you. So like we lived like down the street from each other, and I'm getting like $80 or however much he was getting to basically drive home. So like that actually made me feel kind of good about screwing up most of my night because I was just like, well, at least this guy got a good thing out of it. So.
Now, how about tipping? Because when Uber started, it was you weren't allowed to tip, but I think that has shifted, correct?
It has.
Yes.
So how does it work, and what do you guys...
And are you allowed to tip cash?
Yes, you are allowed to tip cash. Okay. Here's the deal is that, once again, when the prices were over 100%, they had a phrase that said everything's included.
Right.
That phrase meant that you don't have to pay anything more, but it never meant that there was a tip included.
Right.
But the language was awesome. Whoever the marketing person was great, because they knew that they were insinuating that everything was included. And honestly, it was. There was no need. It was one of the great features of it when it started. When they lowered the price then, you needed to tip on top of it, but they'd already indoctrinated everybody on Uber. Lyft, it always has a tipping option. Uber hadn't for a long time, and they really held back till they had to. And by that time, most folks just assumed that it was already included in a natural sense. And they, now it's kind of like we have to raise that awareness again because naturally everybody had been trained off of tipping.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it's just like any service industry where even if passengers just tipped $1, because we do so many,
it would make such a difference.
It would make such a difference, just a single dollar.
It's one of the primary things that it would be gigantic.
Yeah.
The same thing, like if you're going to the airport now for $20 instead of $60, you wouldn't think twice about in a van of dropping $5 on somebody. I'm so happy.
If you're cutting the cheese, maybe that's a 20.
One night I got a really good tip, and this guy got in the car, and he was kind of outside. I mean, he got in the car, he had a box and with stuff, and he goes, "Hey, do you want some strawberry Twizzlers?" And I'm like, "No, I'm fine." Do you want any jerky? I'm like, no, I'm good. So we started talking. It was a very odd night. It was mystical. We were in Hancock Park, and we come up to Olympic Boulevard, and all of a sudden, it was when Biden was vice president. Biden comes by with his entourage, and we're stopped by the cops, and Biden goes by. Then the guy in the car starts talking to me about the lizard people, and, that Dr. Phil, he doesn't even try to hide it anymore, and he's one of the lizard people. And this guy goes really outside discussing a lot of odd topics, and he goes, "Hey, do people ever tip you?" I said, "Yeah, usually they drop a C note on me." And he goes, "You know what? You're an asshole. You know that? You're an asshole." So I take him up to on Seward or something in Hollywood, And it's an apartment building, and he gets out of the car, and he leans in, and he hands me a bill, and I grab it, and then he's gone. And then I look, and it's $100 bill.
Whoa.
And I said, wait, dude, I was kidding. He goes, no, man, keep it. I got a lot of them. And then he disappeared into the night.
Wow. That's a great story.
There's your Mel Gibson story.
Can I ask an important question?
Yeah.
I think it was Bill
Was
Paxton
that
and
Alex
Gillette.
Jones? Because it all checks out.
Especially the Twizzlers thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, how are you
That
turning down those
explains
Twizzlers, man?
so much. Oh my God, mystery solved. Well
Hey,
done,
have
Kyle.
you guys seen the campaign that who's the originator of Uber? I forget his name, but he was much in the news for the lawsuits and whatnot.
Right.
But he's kind of doing a Wells Fargo campain type of thing now. Have you seen this?
Rehabilitating?
the
Yeah.
image of Uber. I just caught it. I just wonder if you guys had seen it and your reaction to it.
Are you talking about the new CEO?
There's a new CEO.
Oh, maybe it's the new CEO. Sorry.
Is his name
Okay.
Dara
So
or
do
is
we
it
like the new
Travis?
guy? Do we like-
we like the new guy.
Okay.
You do like the new guy?
Talk about the new guy.
Issue-
Talk
what
about
is the issue with Uber? That's what I never really technically understood what the problem was.
Originally, it's like boys' club. A lot of problems at the corporate level.
Oh, I don't see that here
Oh,
at all.
yeah. There was a point in time where they didn't have like 5 of the major C-level executives.
Yeah, well, I was out of town at a wedding, which is when I use Uber, and you're at the wedding and you're trying to back time when you need to call the Uber to go to the airport, and I said out loud, I'm gonna call the Uber, and someone at the wedding just said, "Why aren't you boycotting Uber?" And I should have been more of an asshole. Because it's not up to her,
not sure that's
and I don't
possible.
really know how she was related to the bride or groom.
I feel like that's going to be on your
But
tombstone. I should have.
what I was thinking was, that's the only app on my phone, bitch. I don't have time to download Lyft right now. I got to get my mom to the airport. But what I said out loud was, a lot of people drive for Uber who have nothing to do with whatever your issues are with the management.
Right.
I don't know if I agree with boycotting every company that's behaving badly. How do you guys feel about that?
There were internal company issues.
Right.
There were numerous. And there were also policy issues with drivers that were fundamental. So most everybody found out about the company issues because there were just so many of them. They were prolific with their own issues and problems. There were just so many.
And everything can filter down from the top, right?
And
in terms of policy and
it
et
really
cetera.
was a combination of
culture.
It's mostly just that they had slashed all their prices and they communicate with drivers in a way that kind of want to have new drivers all the time.
So was that wedding guest correct in telling me to boycott Uber at that point?
It depended on the reason, but
Yeah.
I mean, there were company issues within the company. They've got a lot of lawsuits.
What brought everything to the head was there was this whole support of Trump that happened.
Ooh.
Oh, you're absolutely right. It was the meeting of all of the tech leaders that
Right.
went in
Okay.
there, and that's what actually started.
And then
it.
everybody
I
got
didn't know
on.
about that.
It really was, yeah.
Totally.
And
And then
so-
everybody
yeah.
wanted to boycott that,
exactly
get on Lyft, so on and so forth.
All right. So what has subsequently happened?
Travis is gone, and we've got Dower in there now.
Well, they came in initially and had initiated a program of change,
Yeah.
but none of those changes really had addressed the fundamental issues, which was some kind of consistent structure of pricing. And it was a whole other stuff. But and so everybody was very cautious about it and didn't really believe these things that were true. But lately, they've been making really strong decisions about the only fundamental issue, which is allowing drivers to have more choice about who they pick up, because we're actually independent contracters. So once you do that, the fear would be that people would never pick up certain people, but the truth is that there would always be somebody for a ride when you give them the choice. And they're doing that slightly more now than Lyft. So the truth is that it probably comes from him. It's a directive from him. But they're all very objective mechanical things that just allow drivers to have a choice of taking a ride or not.
Okay.
And it's such a simple thing. Like it could be I have to go to the bathroom, or it could be that somebody just called me and I don't want this ride, or I don't want to end up in that part of town for an hour.
Right.
And it's really good to know because right behind him is this guy who would love that ride.
Well, what if they're going to pick up a gay wedding cake
Oh, well, then, yeah, it depends.
Do you have to pick them up? Yeah.
You do.
You should. I think you should pick them
You
up.
just have to cover the cake.
I like the cake. What kind of cake are we talking about?
Chocolate.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm picking
I
up
mean,
that
if it's
cake.
my gay wedding, it's chocolate. So.
Nice.
Are you guys ready for what's Twitter trending? It's hard to pronounce. You have to go slowly. Let's do it together. Ready? What's Twitter trending? Today is September 11th. So Twitter trending is hashtag never forget. And this is a tweet from Kobe Johnson. Who wants to read that one?
Why don't someone else read it today? Do you want to read it?
No, where is it?
Right here.
Or on the screen.
Yeah, but right there.
Remembering and honoring all of those who lost their lives and loved ones, as well as those who bravely responded 17 years ago today. God bless America. Hashtag never forget.
And the FBI tweeted, I should follow the FBI on Twitter. I don't, but it came up in my search, and that, of course, is John O'Neill. Lori, would you read that tweet, please?
Today, the FBI remembers retired special agent in charge John O'Neill, who was killed on 9/11, 2001 in the terrorist attack on the World Trade Center in New York City. Hashtag never forget. Hashtag September 11th.
So what ironically happened to Mr. O'Neill was he was trying desperately to warn about the terrorist attacks. Wow. He worked for the FBI. Wow. The FBI and the CIA were in a sort of
turf war,
a mortal struggle. Right. And ironically, John O'Neill leaves the FBI and takes a job as the head of security for the Twin Towers.
He looks like a nice guy, too. It's a shame.
And if you want to see the whole story, I highly recommend that you watch Jeff Daniels in The Looming Tower, now streaming on Hulu. So we honor all of those who were lost and all of those who served to protect us.
Thank you. Absolutely. I didn't know that.
That's absolutely.
Yeah.
And I want to thank you guys for serving us and driving drunk people where they need to go and delivering them safely back to their loved ones.
Yes,
and
thank you.
Lori's like, thank you. Thank you.
Put on your seatbelt.
Yeah, and I want to go around the room here before we close. And where can we find you online, and what is it that you do that you would love us to discover? Let's start with you, Jonathan.
Oh, okay. Well, I actually have created a project called We Are Traffic, which is about rideshare driving in Los Angeles, and actually a city where everybody's separated, how we're all actually now accidentally coming back together. So there is a website that right now it's JonathanTiptonMyers.com, but we just secured the URL for wearetraffic.net. That'll turn around. It's a book from a blog that will become a television series, but actually is now a live performance that I do. That was part of the Hollywood Fringe, but actually we're having a performance on Thursday evening, and there's info on that website about that. Thursday at 9 p.m., it's a showcase to possibly move that show to New York, but it's really a journey through the last 3 years of rideshare in Los Angeles.
Wow, and you came to us through our friend David Rodwin.
David Rodwin, who has a brilliant show.
Yeah, brilliant.
And he came to mine, and we just became friends from that.
Oh, that's awesome.
So you can find out more information about that. And I swear to God, buckle your seatbelt.
Buckle your seatbelt.
And when your driver asks you, don't give him a hard time about it. And if he doesn't ask you, which he won't, do it yourself.
And please put your phone away while you're driving.
Oh, for us, absolutely.
No, not you guys. Everybody else. I know that you guys do.
Okay.
I mean, if your phone is vibrating, ignore it. It will wait.
Oh yeah,
it will wait.
I listen myself.
Dan, what do you have going on?
I'd like to. There's a company or a nonprofit I used to work for with pet wellness. So for those pet owners, please spay and neuter your pets. Get them microchipped, and most importantly, get that microchip registered. And I recommend going to foundanimals.org for that. Also, promoting their their adopt and shop, where they actually go out to the shelters, rescue them, bring them back to their retail stores, get them all checked out, make sure they're healthy, kind of do a meet and greet with potential rescuers.
Very nice.
Oh, lovely.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah.
That's fantastic, Dan. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank you. And Kyle?
My name is Kyle T. Hefner, so all of my social media is that. My Instagram is Kyle T. Hefner, Twitter, Facebook, and is that it? MySpace? No. Anyway.
Tinder?
Yeah, my Tinder. So I do stand-up Monday nights at Larry's in Venice. There's doing that. Take a look at my stuff. But I just want to say, I think that when we've driven a lot of people, and We've driven people from all socioeconomic levels. We've driven people from all over the world. We've Uber pooled with a Russian, a person from Asia, and a German, and a person from Africa in the car at the same time. And people talk, and we create conversations with them. And we have found that people do want to like each other and get along. And I just want to say, be kind to each other. Please.
We have a lot of common ground.
Yeah.
You know, we're all here as part of the human organism together.
Yeah, totally.
What do you got, Scott?
So I love nature photography.
Wow.
And you can find my stuff on Instagram at Scott Lubbers Photo. I do hashtagging of sharing nature's art. And also Sunset Watch 2018. Every year, me and a few other people we love our sunsets here in California, and each year we'll have a group of sunsets. So next year it'll be Sunset Watch 2019.
I love it.
So
That's
check out those
fantastic.
hashtags. Yeah,
Nice.
Thanks.
Lori, what do you got going on?
My name is Lori Roggenkamp. I am a comedian. I'm in the Central Valley Comedy Competition.
Vote for Lori.
September 25th. Jeez, it's September now. At 7:30 at a place in Clovis called Di Cicco's Italian Restaurant, and it's off Clovis Avenue. So if anybody watching this can come out or support. I think there's online votes too. And then I also do a podcast that's currently on hiatus but coming back soon called Bloody Mary Podcast with Marie and Lori, and it's about terrible women in history.
And speaking of great women in history, if you're watching America's Got Talent tonight, please vote for our friend Vicky Barbalak for the win.
Yes, yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah. Jack, what do you got going on?
So, Jack Daniel, it's at jackdanielvo.com is my main website. You can see me on Facebook at Jack Daniel VO. Same with Instagram, same with Twitter. You can reach me through my agents or managers, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.
Thank you, David Court, Francesco, Demanda, and Lane McFadden. I am Louise Palenker. We are your new favorite podcast, and we will see you next week. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.